Hi, everybody. I'm Leslie Iwerks. I'm the director of Disneyland Handcrafted, and I'm on with Straw Hat Goofy, Get Wrecked.
Wake up, Juju. Time to go to work. All right, can we talk about wake up, I get it, Wake up, I get it, I go with everyone saying I'm up next. It's not my fault that the vocals are gold, they're making the haters so upset. My life is a movie, the way that I roll. They saying I'm goofy, but baby, you know I'm making everybody obsessed. Cause we the best, how we get wrecked, and I know we're gonna get wrecked, we're gonna get wrecked. We're gonna get wrecked, we're gonna get wrecked. We're gonna get wrecked, we're gonna get wrecked.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Juju Green, aka Straw Hat Goofy. You're a movie guy, and today I am sitting here with Leslie Iwerks, the director of Disneyland Handcrafted. How are we doing today, Leslie?
Great.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. I like your vest.
Thank
The best
you.
vest ever.
Thank you so much. I got this. If you want to know the brand, they make really good stuff. Shout out to Roosevelt's, and they spell it with a RSVLTS, tiny s. And a lot of people thought they were called Results for the longest time because it looks like that. But they make really great like merch things. And they came out with this set, I think I want to say like, what was it, 2 years ago? Disneyland hit its 100th anniversary.
Yep.
So this was part of like their Disney 100 kind of like
Cool.
line. It also came with a t-shirt. There's like a matching hoodie. Like it's reversible, as I told
Nice.
you. It's
Yeah.
pretty sick. I love it.
I don't know how I missed that one, but I might have to steal it.
You know what? My friends at Roosevelt, let's make sure we get Leslie like a box, like a full box of your 100 line. So, we usually don't do this. This is like our first time gifting a guest, like on the show.
No pressure. No.
We're setting a precedent for like
Right.
the rest of the episodes, but I'm really excited to talk about your film. I watched it over the holidays, and I feel like it's one of those perfect films to watch. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because of my Disneyland cast member background and I worked there for like so many years, but Disney to me just feels like the holidays because it gives you that kind of like feeling, that kind of like joyous wonder that most people think is only reserved for like one time of the year. But as long as like you're a fan of Disney, I feel as long as you're going to Disneyland, I feel like you can kind of maintain that all year round. Mm-hmm. But I was watching this and it was so fascinating because we can get into this. We talk about like the Disney vaults and the archives and the footage that lies in there and like what could be in there. This film brings a lot of that to the forefront. There's never before seen archival footage of the making of Disneyland that like nobody has seen before. Can you talk to me about kind of like getting that footage and like the decision to kind of like bring that to life to everybody?
Sure. So when we were making the Imagineering story back in 2016 or so, we went to the film archives and we found like almost 200 hours of footage that were in binders. Basically, they were reels, and we said, can we get these transferred? And when we got all this footage transferred into our hard drives, we started watching it, and it was like unbelievable, the making of Disneyland, right? All this construction footage, people hammering, people sawing, the craftsmanship that went into the making of this park. The footage, I would say about almost 100 hours of it was specifically pre-Disneyland opening. And then the rest was like right post-Disneyland opening and the years following. And so
Right.
we were able to use some of this footage in the Imagineering story. But with a lot of documentaries, you're kind of using clips here and there, and
Right.
you never see it sort of chronological, like being in the moment.
Yeah.
And so what we really wanted to do was take this footage and string it together, almost like an archaeological dig. We forensically went through every shot, figured out which location it was, what time frame it was, what plot of dirt it was, and started to see things in different lands start to rise up from the ground. And as you start to build it in different sections, then you fill in the details with the different guys with the details and hammering and things like that. So we were able to build scenes, find sections that had the most interesting cutaways and things like that. And these cameramen were genius. I mean, Stuart Jewell, Travers Hill, there was a number of them who went out there and just observationally took footage of what was happening. But then they also did aerials. They did time lapse. They did almost like behind the scenes of shooting each other filming.
Right.
So there were all these different ways in which the footage was shot, and so we had and they also did gags. They set up gags with the construction workers. So I think a lot of this footage, some of the footage I should say, was used for Walt's Disneyland TV show that he was promoting the park at that time, but a lot of it was on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the fact that we see this footage, we find this footage and find a way to put it together in a way that's a narrative storyline in a way, told through archival audio interviews from people that were there.
Yeah.
There's no other footage that we shot or interviews that we did. It was all straightforward archival footage and audio sound bites that tells the whole story.
You literally reached into the past and kind of created a documentary like off of that.
Right.
I think that's so insane. And like the chronological nature of it all. There's 2 shots that I was talking about earlier was one of my favorites is there's like a worker who's like climbing up the scaffolding.
Yeah.
And then it like switches to high def, and that's when like, oh, like this is like this is the moment. Like it feels so granular, it feels textile. You can like actually like it almost feels like you could reach out and touch it, like you were there, right? It kind of takes like, how people say like, oh, black and white footage makes it seem like the time is from like a different long time ago. It just feels so distant, whereas like now it feels very of today. It kind of like humanizes the people who worked on this like decades ago, but it definitely feels like more of today.
Yeah.
And the other shot that I really love is like when they call out the different lands, but they only show the plot of land before it was made. It was like, oh yeah, Tomorrowland,
right,
Fantasyland, but there's nothing there. And I was just kind of like, whoa, this is so these little things were locking me into the documentary. And I feel like it's that type of pacing that you've done that really kind of like sets the stakes for the story and just kind of makes you excited to see the finished product as you're watching it, like almost in real time. Right?
Yeah, that's cool.
You want to talk? I have this like really interesting question, like. Disneyland is the physical pinnacle, I feel like, of magical, right? And like the number one thing when it comes to magic is that you never reveal the trick, right? That's like the number one rule that you do not break. And as a cast member, there was always that, don't break the immersion. Don't like, you're always in show. I remember these things and it's drilled into me to this very day. But this one definitely shows you how the magic works, right? Can you talk to me about kind of like making that decision to like further unearth the magic trick?
Well, it's interesting because when you look at this footage and you see it as a film all the way through, I feel like the magic is in Walt's mind. I feel like the magic is what he imagined it could be. And all these craftsmen and construction workers and engineers all came together under his singular vision to mobilize, threw away their doubts, threw away their, everything that they felt was never going to work to create this impossible dream. They did it. And to me, that was the magic. It was the magic of everybody mobilizing under his singular vision to create the happiest place on earth. And, when you think about what he imagined with all this dirt everywhere, right? And everyone's looking at him like, are you crazy? And he saw it. And to me, that became the DNA of Disneyland's foundation. It was what he brought to it. It was, bringing these characters to life in three-dimensional form, being able to walk through, the castle and experience it like you might have seen it on one of his animated films, or to meet Mickey Mouse and to meet Minnie Mouse and to meet the various characters in 3D. All those things were magical, and they still are magical. All these years later, people love.
I love going. Yeah.
Oh my God! Now, when you go to any of the parks and you're standing in line to meet a character, in Shanghai, it's like 3-hour lines to meet Mickey Mouse.
I went to that one, and I could definitely attest to that. Like I wanted to. This is before Zootopia had opened, and I was just like very like impressed with like the difference of love that characters get in the different parks, right? Like I was very shocked that there wasn't as much like Buzz and Woody in the Toy Story Land, but Lotso is everywhere, and that everyone just loves Lotso over there. But like all like the characters like Nick Wilde and Judy Hobbs, and like these characters are like held to high regard. And Nick Wilde is like my second favorite Disney character under Hercules. So I bought all the merch while I was there, and I saw him walking by, and I I'm a grown man, right? Like I'm 33 now, gonna be 34 in like 2 weeks. And I was just like, Nick Wilde! Like it just like the joy that I feel when I see my favorite characters, like it's crazy to think like that's exactly what kind of like Walt envisioned. Cause this on this scale, a park or at least just like a place of amusement has been thought of on this scale before up until Walt did. Right. So like to see him kind of like, talking to like the craftsmen and talking to like construction workers and literally being like on that plot of land and like just a regular shirt, no tie, just like looking around and just being like, yeah, I think this could go here. I think this could go here. It blew my mind. It really did. And to like, be a part of that legacy in just like a small way as like a cast member, always hearing about Walt's story, right? Like, taking that, those first classes, like, you get in there, it's like the first like week or so of training. They give you like the full rundown of like Walt's dream and things like that. And it inspires you, but it still feels very kind of like abstract in a way, very far away. Whereas here, I'm like looking at it. I'm looking at him and like I'm looking at him in like this beautiful high def like footage. And I got to ask about that. Was that footage kind of like cleaned up or was it just kind of like put in as is?
Yeah. So a lot of it that came in was 2K resolution.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got it in and we cleaned up a lot of the frames that had dirt and grain, and not really grain, but, little strings and things like that we really wanted you to feel like you were living in it. And the other thing that was interesting was that the footage was all silent. It was all shot non-sync MOS.
So you had to sync all that audio as well?
Actually, there was no audio at all to it. It was all silent.
Okay.
So we built a... it was funny because we started with a 7-minute proof of concept way back when.
Okay.
And we just added some sound effects to it. And it was interesting because before you added sound effects, it was like just watching it.
Mm-hmm.
But now when you put sound effects to it, you actually feel like you're living in it.
Yeah.
And so that was what was fun about it, was looking at it like a true verite chronological story. If you just had no music and you just have sound effects to everything, it does feel like you're kind of in it.
Yeah.
And so what we did for the feature was we worked with Skywalker. Bonnie Wilde was our mixer, and she painstakingly edited in every single sound effect.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and you would not know that it's not real. And she laboriously looked through old sound effects from the time to really make sure that they were authentic. So what does a tractor sound like in 1954?
This is insane.
What does the horn on this one truck sound like in 1954? What do saws? Because there was no electric saws back then.
Course,
so
yeah.
what sound effects were from that time and that specific year, and that's how we built that whole soundtrack. So it was almost like if you're, mixing an animated film where you have no sounds except voices. This was the same thing. It was just completely handcrafted, in and of itself.
I'm sorry. So in a literal sense, we're watching Disneyland being like handcrafted, but then also you handcrafted the pieces to kind of like bring those real things to life even further.
Yes. Yeah.
Listen, Craig, you know how I like to put together dots. That's insane. That's great.
So it was really fun, and they did a couple of days of Foley up there, and they literally created the sound effects themselves. So it wasn't like they were just going to a film audio library to get them.
Yeah.
They created them in their Foley studio, and chains with the drawbridge, and feet walking, hammering the sludge of the cement going onto the ground. All that was created in their Foley studio.
Oh my God.
So it was really fun.
The amount of work that goes into that, like you said, it's painstakingly. Like I make just little TikToks, right? And like just syncing up, just kind of like little sound effects. It is laborious. Like you said, it's a lot. And when it's done, I got whoo.
Yeah.
but this is a hour and a half, 2 hour documentary?
72 minutes.
72 minutes? So
Yeah.
that's a lot of sound to do.
Yeah, and then we incorporated it with the TV show. So Walt basically, promoting his Disneyland park on TV.
Right.
During the year leading up to opening day, and then you cut to, he's up there like, happily promoting it, and then you cut to the reality of in the park on the land, and
Right.
everyone's freaking out, and things are going. There's delays, and there's
Right.
It
was all the way.
cost
I
overruns.
think they were like still working on it. I think like up until like the big like
the very
unveiling.
moment. literally, like
That blew
all
my
falling over each other, the camera crews, the construction workers, all the way up to the moment they said, and action, or rolling. And that was the biggest live TV show ever. And, TV was new then, right?
Yeah.
There were only like 3 or 4 networks on TV
It's
at
like
that
the first
time.
instance of like reality TV, if you will.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
ABC was this sort of fledgling network, and everyone had passed on Walt's, TV show idea, and they finally said, yes, we'll do it. And then it ended up becoming one of the top 10 in the top 10 TV shows that year.
That's incredible.
So
That's, yeah.
it was a big boon for ABC and Walt.
Yeah. See, now when people ask, like, what is something that you could experience in the theater in, like, real time, that's going to be one of the things. I know it wasn't in theater, but it's something that I wish that I could have experienced, like, kind of like the opening of Disneyland. Because when I think of that, I think of it's this clip that shows every single time, and it's the people running into the park,
Right.
right? You just see people running from the parking lot that will eventually become more of the park. But then, and the cast member brain in me always goes, "Stop running, please! Stop running in the park." But like to know that crucial bit of information, right? Especially like when they drill into you that Disneyland is a big stage to the cast members. It's all part of the show. And when you think of like even the making of the grand opening night, if you will, like there's still things that are being like touched up on right until like the man yells action or the person yells action. And it was just really cool to kind of like see that. Something that really impressed me as well. And because like I always like seeing the different sides of people that are no longer with us. And Walt Disney, there was a lot of vulnerability in this documentary from him. I've never seen that before, right? Like, again, he's reached this level of like, mythological grandeur that, you just know he's created these amazing things and they're still living on today and we're still enjoying them today. But to see him actually kind of being like, oh, like, don't worry, it's gonna be good. Like, it's not gonna be like a Hollywood production or these type of things. It's gonna be something different. It's gonna be something fun. And there was a lot of like doubt on whether or not he could pull this off. Like, you talked to me about kind of like capturing that side of Walt and like bringing that to the people as well.
Yeah, I think he was vulnerable, at that time. And when you see it in that opening of the film, when he's being interviewed, I think he didn't want to overpromise and underdeliver, perhaps.
Yeah.
And this was different. He started his own division called WED, W-E-D, WED Enterprises, Walter Elias Disney, to sort of shield the main company from a lot of the financial risk. But then ultimately Roy, his brother, came in and said, "Okay, we're all in. Let's do it." And it was a major financial gamble for Walt to do this. And although he says, he's been bankrupt 5 or 6 times and this one's no big deal, it was a big deal.
It was going to be
a big deal.
Probably the biggest of deals.
And I think what you might take away from this film is just the sheer risk that he took, but then that he was so driven to create a place that families could come together and that would live on beyond him, and it would be a place where it would always grow and continue to grow. And what I find fascinating is that it was such a brilliant business model at a time when, like every era, it was the Korean War had just ended and it was the Cold War was looming, and he basically did this in spite of all that. It was like this is a answer to leave the reality behind and come into this happy place.
Yeah.
And
it's incredible.
And what when I travel now to all the parks, and after having seen this footage and lived and breathed this footage, I'm always just so much more appreciative of how far it's come to this day.
Yeah.
It's like unbelievable the layers of imagination and creativity and innovation that have happened every single theme park around the world, and it gets better and better every year. And I having spent a lot of time with the Imagineers and continuing to spend a lot of time behind the scenes with the Imagineers and seeing what they do and Walt would be so proud.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. When I was working out there, I worked there from 2012 to 2017, and I'm gonna shout out my trainer, my mentor, Dave. You're awesome, buddy. Like, he was the quintessential like cast member. Like, he knew the parks inside and out. He used to do this thing where I became a trainer with him, so like he mentored me in many ways. But he used to do this thing that he would take his trainees, like we did a week of training, and he would all say, at the end of the training, if you so choose, I want to show you something like, quite frankly, pretty magical. And ended up becoming my thing as well. And at the end of training, we would go downstairs to the archives at the Harbor Point, and he would show us like there's like this beautiful like hallway that I hope I'm not spoiling the magic or anything like that, but there's this beautiful hallway of like pictures and trinkets of things all the way from the opening of Disneyland, right? Things that they've just kind of like kept in this like kind of like vault that you can actually like walk by and see. One of my favorite things is there's a picture of Steve Martin when he worked as a cast member as well. I believe he was like serving ice cream and like he was a,
okay. He also worked in the magic shop.
Yeah, like it was cool like just seeing that, and it's like just this beautiful just like almost mosaic of like Disney from there to now, and things are still being like put in there, and it was just really cool that it gives you a large sense of appreciation for where you are, like what is your legacy going to be there when you work there, what do you hope to add to it. And the one thing that he always said, and it was like I believe this was a quote that he took from Walt himself, was that Disneyland is never finished. Right. Like, and that was just something that like we always kind of adopted. And I think that's like so true when you see the kind of like, them working all the way up until the grand opening, all the way until they call to action, because it's never finished. Right. And it feels like in many ways they're still adding things, and like, they're still like running around trying to figure out how to make it better, how to make it more immersive and more magical and wondrous. And so just to like get a taste of that, like it's absolutely incredible.
Well, I can add to that, in that for Imagineering Story, I spent, I think, 6 trips to Shanghai documenting from dirt to opening day. So behind the scenes, kind of similar to what Stuart Jewell and those guys were doing. Capturing time lapse, capturing even some 360 on my little 360 camera. And so much behind the scenes. And it was cool because it just feels like construction. But what happens is once it's all done, the magic blooms, It's like all the special effects and the lighting and the show and this music and the sound effects and the details, the layering. And so it was fun for me to look back at this footage shot by these filmmakers and kind of relate my own experience doing the same thing in Shanghai. And I had just gone back there last month, and just it's been 10 years almost since I was there, and to see how much that park is
evolved
and
still
beloved and just packed with people and everyone taking selfies and experiencing it. It's like that park, they own that park. They all just experience it in different ways. They it's just fascinating. I would just sit there and watch people, and I was just like, wow, who would have thought they'd go up to that one thing and take a photo with it? It's like, like a random thing, But anyway, I guess the point is that, did Walt know that this idea would travel to 12 parks around the world? Did he know that when he was doing this first park?
Right.
To me, it's like, he must have felt a sense of drive that this could become something huge beyond him. And I think it was probably the most stressful thing, but at the same time he knew it would continue to grow, unlike a movie. He could just let other people keep evolving from it, but he created the blueprint. He created the DNA. And that DNA, Marty Sklar, who became head of Imagineering years later, created the Marty's 10 Commandments, Mickey's 10 Commandments, which were the blueprint of every park thereafter. What every Imagineer should do in every park. Walk in your guest's shoes, tell one story at a time.
I didn't know there was a 10 Commandments.
Yeah,
10 Commandments.
They're like these rules that if you look at them, and really study them, every theme park has implemented those philosophies.
Right. That's incredible. Like it reminds me of what used to be the 4 keys while I was there is the
Right,
5 keys
right.
now. It reminds me of
Yep.
that. And like now I find myself kind of like looking back at those keys and like ways to like conduct my actual life as well. I still do the 2 finger point as well. Like there's a lot of things that just kind of stick with you. The Mickey, what's it called? The 10 Mickey commandments or Mickey's 10 commandments?
Mickey's 10 Commandments.
That's actually pretty great. I can't remember the name of this Imagineer, but I remember I used to backstage, I used to watch like the TV, and it was like right when they were opening Pandora in Florida, and they used to show us kind of like behind the scenes. And he's the gentleman with like he has like this long earring.
Oh yeah, Joe Rody.
He's great.
Yes.
Like I love him, and I got a little after seeing him for so long, I got a little starstruck because they were also opening Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. And I was fortunate enough to like kind of like teach classes and like, teach the cast members like the world of like Marvel and Tavon and all those characters. And he was walking by and I froze up. I said, like, it was really cool to see someone that imaginative, like kind of like walking by and like in person in real time. And now that you told me that, like, he kind of had like these sets of commandments to follow, it kind of like adds a new dimension to him as like a person, and I think that's like really, really cool.
Yeah.
My gosh, we can like yap about like all the parks. Before I get to my next question, do you have like a favorite experience from any park that you go to like today and like want to experience?
Well, I have to say, making the Imagineering story, my favorite was going up into the Matterhorn and shooting hoops with Bob Gurr.
So wait. So we're confirming here that there's a basketball court in the Matterhorn.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is. We're confirming. That's like the number one question that I get.
Well, haven't you seen the Imagineering story? It's in there.
I have not. But
Okay.
now I need to get that confirmation.
Yeah.
But now, like for those who haven't seen it, watch the Imagineering story, and now you got the confirmation here on Get Wrecked with Straw Goofy. Because like literally everyone always comes up to me and says, "Is there a basketball court?" And I go like, "I haven't been to it. I haven't seen."
Oh yeah,
So
it's in there.
see, now we're on it. We're gonna shoot some. You want to shoot some hoops like after this?
Yeah, outside of the parking lot.
Outside the parking lot.
Not quite as exciting, but hey, let's do it.
That's great. One of my favorite experiences is, and I found this out while I was working there, was if you touch like the golden apple when you go to like the Snow White like attraction, like you hear the laugh of the evil queen, and I get very like, I'm not a scaredy cat, I promise you this. But it's such an unexpected like cackle that like it makes me jump like every single time. And so while I was a cast member, that I will always like direct people to kind of like do that and like kind of like check it out, which I thought was like really cool. It's like so many fun, just little nuggets and Easter eggs you can always find in the park that
I know.
like people don't like. That's why I always say like while I was working there are people who work their whole lives to be there. There are people who sometimes go there who are never going to be there again. So you want them to get the most out of their visit, even if it's like the little nooks and crannies, and as well as like the attractions and shows and like character meet and greets and stuff like that.
Yeah, when you think about Disneyland, you think of it as this shared cultural experience that millions of people have had. Now, 900 going on 900 million people have visited Disneyland since opening
It's
day.
a lot.
It's fascinating to me that what other place do people almost have a pilgrimage to as a shared family experience?
Yeah.
That they want to take somebody back from their own, and their child back to this place and relive it through their eyes as adults. So it's almost like this generational cycle of repeat, like just come back, like experience as a kid, grow up going to it, become an adult, bring your kids to it, repeat as a grandparent. And that to me, Walt had to know as well. Like he had to have known that was the future of this park. That's what it would live on for generations, whether he knew it would live on to be 70 years at this point,
I mean, I believe that's what he hoped for, right? Like,
Right.
with someone with that big of an imagination, and going back to what you said, like he took a huge risk on this, not just financially, but I can see that there are people at the time that were just like, why do we need this, right? And what Disney brings, and kind of like I feel that's why we make this like movie podcast, right? What I feel like the arts and film and like just like creating something brings is that it creates, like you said, an escape. And Disney is the ultimate escape. We hear that time and time again. And so, when you have like war looming and you have like, these like kind of like social dark times that we're still dealing with today, people go to Disney to like kind of escape that, which is why like I always fight back against people who like try to come after the Disney adults. I'm like, hey, they're trying to find any form of happiness, and how could you hate on that, right? Like,
Right.
how could you possibly hate on someone just looking for happiness
Right.
during times like these, right?
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I think it's incredible that this has lasted for so long. And you say, like, we're at 70 years. I worked there during the 60th anniversary, and you said 900 million. I wonder what's going to happen when I don't know if this is being planned or anything. I'm looking at the camera now. What happens when you reach 1 billion people who've went to the park? What do you do? I'm gonna just let you food for thought. Anyway,
Throw a party.
we'll throw. It should be the biggest party the world has ever seen across all the parks. 1
Yeah.
billion people. I think that's a milestone. I think that's something that people don't think about, right? Like, to actually mark that in the thing. Like, what does the billionth ticket look like?
The other thing that's interesting that I thought about when making this film was, what other place on the earth would people want to watch the construction of it?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
That
Like
part.
what
part.
can you think of anywhere else
this is a good exercise.
that you would feel so excited to watch the
Yeah.
construction of it?
The only thing and this is like a huge thing. The only thing that I could think of, the Eiffel Tower, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's it. I argue that maybe Disney is
Right.
bigger. Because maybe there's like footage of like the Eiffel Tower being built that people have seen. I haven't seen it, but I feel like this right here, because again, with the difference between the Eiffel Tower and the difference between this, I guess the Colosseum, like, where you gonna find
Yeah.
footage of the Colosseum, but I think the difference, but even between like the Colosseum and those things, is that, again, it's the magic of Disney, right?
Right.
Like, you think of that in the abstract, and people want to see how magic is built.
Yep.
People want to see the making of the trick,
Right.
right? And I feel like there's more excitement.
Well,
when
and
they wanna see
also, people experience this in their own ways when they go, and it's always changing in little ways. Some
Right.
of it not, some of it so, yes. But I mean, the Eiffel Tower and the Colosseum's now like decomposed.
that. Yeah.
And the Eiffel Tower, it's, you can go up it and down it, and that's
Right.
about it. It's beautiful to look at. But Disneyland, you are part of it. You're part of the fabric of it, the experience of it.
I think that's a great way to put it.
And so
Yeah.
when you look at the early construction of it and you think, my God, they were envisioning that Main Street. They were etching those bricks
Yeah.
on Main Street that we can still see today. I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
it's weird. It's a cool thing.
I want to add to that, because like when we talk about like, the Eiffel Tower, and I'm gonna just take it like another step. When we just talk about like, I want to bring it to the locals, right? As a LA native, like when people say like, oh, like, should we go to like Hollywood Boulevard? Like, as a LA native, I just go, yeah, that's fine. Like, you could go to that. We take it for granted, right? And I feel like a lot of like the French, they know that the Eiffel Tower is like their thing. But I feel like if you're living there, you might take it for granted a little bit. Like, oh, if you want to do real French thing, like, don't do the touristy thing, which is whereas like when it comes to Disney, I've never heard no one say, oh, I'm thinking about trying to go to Disneyland, and somebody says, it's all right. No, they say you gotta go.
Yeah.
Like, right, you have to be there to experience it, because like you said, everyone has like a personal experience. They're part of the experience, and I don't feel like anywhere else you kind of like get that, right? And I feel like once you like experience some of those other things outside of Disney for the first time, it's great. But then you're looking for other things once you go back. Whereas like Disney, you want to go back.
Right.
Like, you want to try something new. You want to, and then since it's never finished, it's like, oh, I need to see this new thing that they're doing, right? And I feel like that's part of the magic of it,
Yeah.
right? So I think to your question, what else would you want to see like the construction of? I think Disney's like the clear-cut number one like answer. Sorry, Eiffel Tower. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say. No shade to the Eiffel Tower.
Lots of shade to the Eiffel Tower in this podcast.
Now they're gonna make their own documentary.
Right.
It's going to be nothing but clips. Just you shading the Eiffel Tower.
They're just
for 15 minutes.
They're just at home, just like, let's get this Eiffel Tower handcrafted.
Exactly. Hey, if it happens, it started here.
It started
This
right
is
here.
The idea right here.
It's because of us. You're welcome.
I need to make it. I need to make it.
Do it. Oh my God, yes, let's do it. And then we'll put it on Disney Plus.
Eiffel
Peacock
Tower.
can't get it.
I just wanted to throw something out there.
Eiffel Tower
And
handcrafted.
this is a little controversial.
you
I've
love
never
it.
been to Disneyland.
What?
What?
Never.
You've never been to Disneyland?
Disneyland, Disney World, none of it.
You've never told me this.
Yeah.
You're fired.
Listen, we
Never
got
been.
as you can, we got a lot of
I
like
know.
Disney things here, and like I got this from Disneyland, dude.
I've never been. Never been.
We now have a mission for Craig.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Why not?
Man, I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Philly originally.
That's not an excuse.
And we didn't take family vacations. We were just never the family vacation family.
Aw.
So then moving out here, it's kind of I even worked pretty close at one point to Disney. I was working in Irvine, and just to hop over to Anaheim was not a big deal. Never been. Just hasn't come up.
Well, I don't have kids, and I always thought, if I have kids, I got to take them to Disneyland.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Well, I'll just take you,
There we go. Perfect.
so I can have that experience.
You have 4 cameras, multiple microphones.
You're
We're
her
going.
You're her kid now, Craig.
We're
Exactly.
going.
I'm gonna be
We're
like,
going.
come on, I'm gonna hold your hand. Come on in. This is Main Street.
And we gotta do like everything. We gotta get him the ears. We gotta get him like the
Right.
embroidery with his name on it. Like he has to have the balloon within the balloon. Like you gotta do
Yeah,
turkey leg.
we should totally do this and like have a full on. You get a camera crew, and then we're gonna do it as if you're my kid, and I'm gonna take you.
Craig's first Disney trip.
We'll do
Let's
it.
do it.
We'll get him the button. We'll get him the first visit button.
Right.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
there's a button?
There's a button.
That's
for
all I
this.
needed to hear. I'm in.
There's a button, bro. And now, you tried Dole Whip though before, right? Like outside of
Oh my God! How does he not have
he
Dole
has
Whip?
not had Dole Whip.
No.
Okay, we're gonna make this happen.
This is
We're
this
gonna
is
make
painful
this happen.
to me.
Dole Whip, and I'm gonna bring up another thing: California Adventure, Lamplight Lounge. Are you allergic to shellfish?
No.
Lobster nachos are fire at Lamplight Lounge at Disney California Adventure. You've had them? Yep. It's that smile. Like I could tell she went, yeah, I got it.
or the Dole Whip with the floater,
That's my favorite. You don't get a Dole Whip without
with
the
the rum floater.
Yeah. See.
These are things.
These
I
are
don't know these
man.
things.
And
These
then
are
and then you
things.
got to go to Pirates of the Caribbean, and then you like got to do a video where he says, "Why is always the rum gone?" You take a sip. That's why. Like you got to do one of those. See, this is we're doing some revelations.
See, I thought
here.
I could say this. I thought this would be a safe space.
I
I'm
mean,
glad.
you're safe.
I'm glad.
Don't
No,
worry.
I mean, I know everybody's
It's
looking at me
kinda-
a little differently now.
Kind of like therapy right now.
A little bit. A little bit.
Or an intervention.
We
Yeah.
need to get like the log chair and just say like we just never took family vacations. I don't
Yeah.
know why. But no, I think like whenever someone says
It's fine. Just a little childhood trauma. It's all good.
Right.
but that's why we're gonna take you to the park. You're gonna be like, wow. It's like I hate to make this comparison, but I'm a big How I Met Your Mother fan, and there's a character who like has never had bacon before, and there's a whole like episode where he says like, oh, my mom lied to me about like bacon. Like she said it would give me like a tummy ache, and then she goes, wait, she lied to me. So then he eats a ton of bacon in the episode, and he eats so much that he actually gets a tummy ache. So like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So that's
But-
gonna be you.
So that's gonna be you.
OD'd
Alright.
on
OD'd
Dole
on
Whip.
Disney. Dole Whip. OD'd on Dole Whip. You know, that's the goal. Get you OD'd on Dole Whip. But I feel like anytime someone says like they've never been to Disney, like everyone who has been there, it becomes like it's never a you gotta go, like, or like you're lesser from not going. It's more like we're gonna take you. Like, cause immediately I was like in my head planning like a day to like take you there. It's like, bro, when are we off? Like we're just like what are you doing today? like I'm really thinking what are you doing today?
You know,
Sam?
fascinating enough is that my editor Mo on Imagineering Story,
Yeah.
he cut the whole episode 1, which is all the whole evolution to Disneyland,
Yeah.
and beyond.
Yeah.
Leading up to Walt's death. Actually, he had never been to Disneyland either, and he cut all this footage.
Really?
And I couldn't believe it. He did not tell me that until.
He didn't want to tell you
much
that
later.
until he was like, gotta keep it
But
a secret.
it's amazing that he could pull that together and know and feel the magic of
Yeah.
it all and see what were cool cuts and things things to focus on without having been there.
Comes off the screen.
Yeah, but
And,
he also edited Disneyland Handcrafted too. So
yeah. Has he been since?
yes, I took him. A similar experience. I took him for the first time. I'm like, my son. Let's
Look,
go.
This is your thing. You take your kids.
Even though we're the same age.
Listen, you walk around the park, you're holding hands. I hope you got him the ears. I hope you got him the Dole Whip.
Yep.
Okay. What do you have like a quote that he said like while experiencing that for the first time, like a wow or something like that, where you were like, got him?
I don't know. Maybe it was a wow.
It's
This is
just like
great.
yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I should have been thinking about it, but
Listen.
no, he was excited.
I mean, I love it though. I love all this. Like, I didn't go to Disneyland a lot growing up as well. Like, my family just never could afford it, quite frankly. And when I think my first trip there, I say trip, my aunt took me, but we didn't get inside. She took me to a hotel across the street, and I saw the fireworks from across the street. That was my first memory of like being there. And I remember telling myself like, I'm gonna get there. Like, I'm gonna see what the inside like really looks like. And my first time there was grad night, because I grew up here, went to grad night. And you ever have this thing where you go somewhere at night and it's completely different like than the day?
Disneyland.
It's Disneyland.
Yeah.
And so like we get there at night, and obviously I'm experiencing all these things in a rush because senior year, like we're super happy. It's way different for grad night than it is on any other day of the park because they got DJs and dance floors and things like that. So in my head, Disney was just this giant party, like this giant like club or whatever. And then I went there properly when I worked there. And I went there on my first day, and it just looked different. And I was getting the tour, and like I was enjoying myself. And it was a completely different kind of like, again, I'm like, how old am I? 2012. So like, yeah, I'm like 2 years removed from high school. I'm a little adult person. And I'm just thinking to myself like, wow, like this is incredible. Like the work that goes into it, the magic, the immersion. Like I remember I was walking from one land to the next, and the way the music just seamlessly blends into the other. And I was just thinking to myself, how do they even do that? Right. And so now that like I was there, since then I've had my daughter, she's 8 now. And now we have passes, and she's like now saying like, oh, are we going to Disneyland this weekend? Every single weekend.
Wow.
Right. So I think it's like really cool how like, I never got that experience like at her age, but now like I'm giving her that experience. And to her, like you would think she would take it for granted, but like she's still like you could tell like her mind is just kind of like melting every time we go. And she's like almost addicted to Disney.
That's
going
great.
at this point, which is great.
That's fun.
Right. So like, you talked about like kind of like, Walt and like, did he think it was going to last? I'm glad that it's lasting because now like, generationally we can experience this thing.
Well, the thing that another reason I thought this film was important to tell is I think a lot of young people that grow up going to Disneyland now, they just think of it as inevitable, like it's always been there, and it's just, in a way you kind of take it for granted. And when you look at this film, you realize it was far from inevitable. It was destiny for Walt. It was out of his mind. In his mind, it almost felt like it was a necessity. And to think about that vision and that risk that he took to bring so much happiness to so many people generations later.
Yeah.
I think that's, if I had one takeaway for people to feel, it would be just that level of respect and thanks,
Yeah.
that he went through all that to bring this to the world when it hadn't existed before. And I mean, can you imagine a world without Disneyland?
No. No. Like, I think there is a timeline of like a world without Disneyland.
He can, but
I mean, well, here's the thing, like, because you know it's there, right? And like, I'm sure that like at some point you were gonna go. Like, there's no way you.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I'm going now.
Okay.
yeah.
But before this, I wasn't sure.
Listen,
but once you go, you will be changed forever.
I think that's like really important. Like, I can't, and this is like, I'm trying to put myself in the mode of like having not been before. Like, can I imagine a world where like that's not a thing? Like, it's not like where I know that in Anaheim there's still like this plot of land. What would even be there? Like a doctor's office, maybe
Apartments and stuff. Stores, orange groves.
And that's like, it's hard for me to even think about that, right? Even when I'm in that area, like I drive by and I see it, I go like, yep, there it is. Like it's there. It's a mainstay. It's like, landmarked. But yeah, no, I don't think I can like really like imagine that.
The one thing too that Disneyland really is about reassurance, and John Hench and Marty Sklar always said, it's not about escape as much as it is about reassurance. That you are, when you enter the gates, you leave your worries behind. And you go into a place that is safe and reassuring and imaginative and allows you to just sort of be free of it all.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess you could use the word escape, but I think Marty always hated that word. He always used to say, "Don't say escape," but
I get it.
but
Yeah.
it's about reassurance and feeling like you can build confidence in ways that perhaps you couldn't do in the outside world. As strange as that sounds.
Yeah. No,
For
yeah.
little kids to go on rides or to experience all these different things and storylines, and so many people have been so inspired by the parks to go on and have film careers and
Yeah.
you know learn story through the parks. You know, Kevin Feige and Pete Docter and Jon Favreau and all these people that have actually grew up going to the parks and loved them. You know, were inspired enough to go into careers and do their own thing, and now they're circling back and influencing the parks. So I think that there's a cool story about just how these parks are inspiring to a lot of people too.
I remember seeing this video of like a guy who recreated World of Color in his backyard in like a kiddie pool.
Yeah.
And like I think he was like an engineer, and I think his hope was to become an Imagineer, but he recreated it almost like shot for shot, like thing for thing. And I thought that was like just so incredible, right? And and he said like when he saw it, he just became like really obsessed with it and like worked on like making it a miniature version for himself.
Yeah.
And so we talk about like the parks inspiring people outside, and I think that's like one of those stories.
Yeah, and also just you think about the hospitality aspect of it all too. You know, just as a cast member yourself, what you learn and how to treat other people and how to the points of service, the countless points of service that Disney does on any given day across the world, from theme parks to hotels to restaurants. It is one of the highest bars of hospitality in the world.
Yes.
And to think that they have inspired so many other institutions beyond the berm through hospitality. And I think that was something that Walt thought was very important. He wanted a really clean park, and he wanted people to leave with a smile on their face, and he just felt like people, if you build something of class, of higher quality than what everyone was telling him to build, that people would rise to it. They would rise up to it. They would hopefully dress up to come to Disneyland and look nice and feel like you are leveling up, you know, the experience by just being around high quality immersion, you know, and experiences.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah, and I'm going to get to my final question here, but this happened to me while I was in Shanghai. I was there, and the style at Shanghai Disney is unlike anything I've ever seen. The people who go there, it's like on a different level. I feel like everyone was on like a Disney sanctioned runway, and I was like in a t-shirt and just some regular jeans, and I said, I gotta level this up. So I like bought like some clothes to kind of like blend in a little bit. And it's like you said, it's like rising to kind of like meet that. And I thought it was so cool how like that culture was like kind of set. Like everyone knows what it is when you walk in and they're matching it. And like me being there for the first time, I want to be a part of it. So I feel like, you know, when you do create something like that, people do kind of like, how can I say, meet you halfway on that, right? And want to like, or like as Hitch would put it, come 90, come 10. And like people will go that extra like 10% to be like, I'm a part of this now. Like Disney bounding is a huge thing. It's one of my favorite things when I go into the park to like sit there, and especially as a cast member, I used to sit there and guess like, oh, you're this person. And they would get so happy. And like people who would create like entire like collective groups. Have you seen those people? Like,
No, I'm not sure.
Oh, you haven't? Okay. So while I was there was like different collections of like Disney, like I don't want to say gangs, but like they would be like large groups of people united under like one banner. And one of my favorite ones was this group of people who love Star Wars, and they were called the Sons of Anakin. And they would have like these really cool like leather jackets. They would have like an Anakin like a photo like printed on the back with patches all over it. There was the Main Street Elite. There was like all these different types of people.
Wow.
And they would like just like hang out in like these certain areas and just kind of like, you know, just enjoy it together. I used to do trivia with a lot of them. So they always used to come in as groups. We're ready for our trivia. And they will always be dressed the same. It was like the coolest thing.
Wow.
And so the cultures, the many subcultures that Disneyland will bring, I think that's also like pretty great as well.
And amazing.
Right?
Yeah,
So
that's really cool.
Maybe like when we all go together, like we'll see them walking around. That'd be great. Locked in. All right, so my final question, because I feel like we've talked about legacy a lot here, and we're talking to the great Leslie Iwerks here. Like, we can't talk about like legacy without talking about you, like your father, your grandfather, and being a part of like this massive legacy, like in the Disney family, and telling this story the way you have. You kind of answered this a little bit, but I want to dig a little deeper. Did you feel what part of you felt like there was more of a responsibility to tell this story from you? And how much of that was like responsibility and how much of that was just like a love for like the park and the magic? Or was it just like a bit of both?
I didn't feel responsibility to make it. I felt the responsibility was to make sure it was accurate and that it was authentic to the actual evolution of the chronology, and then a responsibility to the voices that we pulled to tell the story, so that it became a true, authentic telling from their point of view. Having not been there, I wasn't even born yet when the park opened. It's one thing for me as the filmmaker today to be like, oh, this is what it was. Well, I'm never going to be that person. I always want that. I want it to be told from the point of view of everybody else. And when we started reading through these transcripts, we realized how much pressure there was, and that there was a whole other backside to the making of Disneyland that was full of drama and full of doubt and full of fear, and so that was a story you don't hear very often. And so I thought, well, that's the story I want to tell, and let people realize what sacrifice Walt went to do it, right? So that was what I felt my responsibility was. And to do it well, right? To do it as good as we humanly could. But for as far as my family and my grandfather, I mean, my grandfather was the co-creator and designer of Mickey Mouse, and Walt's early partner in Kansas City before they even came out to California. And when Walt came out to California, they had already collaborated for like 4 years, doing animated films and shorts, Alice in Cartoonland together. And so when Ub came out to California, Walt invited him to come out to California and said, "I need you to help me on this this Alice series." He came out, and that ultimately led to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. And then Oswald took off like crazy, and then all of a sudden that distributor basically took the character away, through a shady deal. So now they were left without a character. And so Walt wrote a letter to Ub and Roy and said, we don't have our character anymore. I'll explain when we get to LA. And Ub started drawing ideas, and one of the characters that he came up with was Mickey and Minnie Mouse. Yeah. And when Walt came back, they agreed that this was the character that they should focus on. And at that point, Ub was drawing, to do their first short, Plain Crazy. He did that in 2 weeks, single-handedly, 600 drawings a day. Yeesh. And, he just powered through it. And you think about Walt and Ub, basically, this was near bankruptcy yet again. They had already been, failed a business. They had an Iwerks Disney business in Kansas City, then they had Laugh-O-Grams, that went bankrupt. Oswald failed, and now you got this new character, Plain Crazy Mickey Mouse. And then ultimately, Walt says, wait, Jazz Singer just came out, sound on film, the first talkie, let's apply that to animation. And so they figured out a way with Ub and Walt and Carl Stalling and everybody to do synchronized sound on an animated film, which was Steamboat Willie. And so that's what catapulted Mickey Mouse into the, universe. It became a nationwide sensation, and then was hugely popular during the Great Depression in the 30s. And then merchandising took off, and Walt was, off to the races. And they, when my grandfather in his later years started working in the technology side of things, he kind of got burnt out on animation. And so he was developing all sorts of things that ultimately ended in the Disney theme parks, which was the Circle Vision, the Circorama camera, the 360 that was in Tomorrowland for Tour of the West. My dad was a camera technician on that film and helped to make and traveled all around the country filming on that 360 camera system. Yeah, and
so sick.
And so that when that Tomorrowland was the last land to be built in the park before opening day, as you see in the film, how pressured it was. It was
Yeah.
the last thing, and they were just scraping it together, by the end.
I
But
knew
that
how it's crazy knowing how that ends, and I'm still watching this like, oh my god, like
Yeah,
like,
but
how did
that
they pull it off?
film was in there, and they built this theater, a 360-degree theater with the camera projection system, everything.
Yeah.
And my grandfather was instrumental in developing that entire system. And then after the park opened, the other sort of fun tidbit was that when Lincoln at the World's Fair in 1964 came back to Disneyland, my dad's they had his hands were too big,
Okay.
and Walt didn't like the size of his hands,
What?
and so they ended up asking around the studio, we need models for Lincoln's hand? We need the right hand. And it turns out my dad's hand was a perfect size.
Nice. Okay.
And so he ended up being the model for his hand.
Okay, I didn't know this.
And anyway, so that hand is now on Lincoln, but that hand became what they call the Iwerks hands, and those hands were the model for many animatronic hands around the world.
Wow.
I think Davy Jones' hands was an Iwerks hand.
Really?
Yeah, in Pirates. Anyway, there's a bunch of different hands that are
Yeah.
Iwerks hands.
And
But there's a number of other Disney employees that worked in the lot who were hand models, and then their last name, those hands too.
Right, yeah.
I forget who they were, but it's
but
kind
the
of
Iwerks
fun.
hands living on. I love that.
Right.
Like,
It's just a random bit of information for you.
no, I think that's information that people like want to know about, right? Like, because
Yeah.
I always like when we can see, because you think about. I don't know if I even want to ask this question. With the Pirates of the Caribbean, there's a rumor that somebody's skull is there. I'm not going to ask you to confirm or deny that. But, like, I think, like, oh, what things have been left in the parks and in these type of things, and knowing that like these hands are all from like one person, or the Iwerks hands is like a thing. I think that's like really cool.
I don't think there's a skull in there by any means, but
Yeah,
I do think
well, thank you.
that's scary. I never
That's
heard
very
that.
scary and very morbid.
If that were true, I would know it. Okay. Because I've spent a lot of time in that haunted mansion behind the scenes. But no, actually a lot of the original camera projection effects for Haunted Mansion down in the dining scene, those were Yale Gracie and my grandfather's work. And so those were all like old reflection projection effects to get the ghosts dancing and whatnot. It was Pepper's Ghost, and it was an old school technique from the turn of the century, but they were able to enhance it a bit, and all that stuff is still down there. Those original lights and projections and things like that. I was able to walk down there and see it. I thought, wow, that's cool. I mean, no one would know it except me, but it was fun to kind of walk in my grandfather's footsteps a bit in all the work that he did on the parks up until his death in 1971. And now to look back on all the work that my dad and grandfather did, not only at Disneyland, but Walt Disney World in Tokyo as well.
Yeah, it's great. And I just want to say before we wrap up here is that like I said, I came into Disney. I started working retail, Disney California Adventure in 2012. And I believe that's around the time where the Oswald rights had like came back. And so like Epic Mickey was like a big thing, and like like the Oswald merch was like a big thing. They put in the Oswald like store, the gas station. And I remember like learning about the story and like getting the questions of like, oh, who is this? And like telling the story that you just told me to guess was like one of my favorite things. I believe I'm gonna have to find this photo. I'm pretty sure I can find it very easily, but it's a photo of me working at the Oswald gas station with like the Oswald plush on my shoulder, and I would make them like wave at people. And I was like, my favorite thing was to tell those stories and everything. And so to hear it from you, like just like in depth like that, it's like a really cool full circle moment for me to hear that. So like I'm just happy that like we do have Oswald the Lucky Rabbit back, and that like he's as popular today as he always should have been. Right?
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that.
No, that was a brilliant move on Bob Iger's part to get that back.
Got him back. He's back in the family. But Leslie, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to me about Disneyland Handcrafted. I'm really excited for everyone to like check it out and freak out about it, just as we geeked out about it today.
Well, thank you for having me, and great to meet you.
It was
fun.
Nice to meet you too.
We're gonna see you at Disneyland, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
All right, we're locked
Part
in.
2.
We're locked in.
We're locked in.
See,
we're going.
This is, we got witnesses. We got 2 witnesses. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching another episode of Get Wrecked with Straw Hat Goofy. Make sure you guys check out the podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your podcast at, as well as YouTube. And check out the clips on our TikTok, on our Instagram, everywhere where you can find these awesome clips. And as always, I'm Straw Hat Goofy. And if you like talking about movies, can I be your movie guy?